Good morning to you, Chandrasekharji. I had the privilege of attending your function yesterday along with Sri Subhashji and Sri Amin. I was happy to be there. I am Dr. Kishore Bangal, a CSR evangelist, economist and entrepreneur. I have operations in Chennai and I have some infrastructure investments in Bangalore. And above all, I consider myself to be a thought leader. Now, I did listen to one of the speakers yesterday and I figured out that the whole topic of yesterday was about export promotion. Fundamentally, in terms of export promotion, one has to start off by doing a hindsight 2020 analysis. There are two aspects to this. One is at the macro level and the other is at the micro level. Let me first give you an elocution on the macro level. In circa 1947, when India got her independence, the then Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, on the advice of Professor Harold Lowsky at the London School of Economics, went in for a format called Fabian Socialism. Fabian Socialism, in effect, created large public sector undertakings and had a centrally planned economy. India's growth rate was in the region of around 2 to 3%. It took the genius of a P.V. Narasimha Rao in 1991 to open up India's economy and the process of liberalization. And subsequently, it took the perspicacity of an Atal Bihari Vajpayee to get India to a growth rate of around over 8%. In the 10 years from 2004 to 2014, we lost out on a lot of competitive advantages in the global scenario, primarily due to effete governance. And since 2014, there are two remarkable features which have happened in the Indian economy. Demonetization, in effect, transmuted a black mark into a gold standard, and GST brought in an equitable playing field. What had happened in the first 3-4 decades of India was that India got firmly entrenched in what is called crony socialism. And subsequently, you may call it the law of unintended consequences. The period since Narasimha Rao, we are caught actually in what is called crony capitalism. This has resulted in severe inequality, and demonetization was a fascinating attempt at bridging the inequality divide. India desperately requires to bridge the inequality divide, and this is its greatest problem. Now, to the topic of export promotion. In fact, exports provide a vehicle for India to actually ensure that the inequality divide is brought down to sensible levels. And now, let me get to the micro aspects of this. Let me walk you through a 7-dimensional perspective which is applicable both for governance per se and for leadership in the corporate world. First things first, core competencies. It's ironic that since 1947 till today, India has not conducted a district-wise core competency analysis sheet. We need to know the core competencies of various districts. As an exemplar, we need to know the equations in Hosur: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurial ability. How are they being used? What is the quality? What is the plan? How do we harness this talent? And so on and so forth. And unless you have a district-wise core competency index, it will be very difficult to program the future vis-a-vis manufacturing. Core competency is all about ensuring sensible and coherent growth. And that is the first thing India has to do. Do a core competency analysis. The National Council of Applied Economic Research in Delhi could be used to do it. And that would be the benchmark against which every district in this country can be managed vis-a-vis industrial output. So having identified our core competencies, we then need to move on to plotting the present and the future based on the core competencies. That is when infrastructure restraints and constraints are discussed, and where there are constraints in a certain district which has otherwise a fantastic potential, we need to apply our resources there to up the ante so that we are one up in the game. This is how it works. And then this will ensure product quality and service quality so much required at the international level. This leads me to the third point, which is zero tolerance to failure. Now, please understand that the export arena is entirely in the relevance of a global platform. So our product quality and service quality should be benchmarked to global standards. And in the process, there will be a learning curve. It's inevitable. We should have the wherewithal to be able to withstand that, and then over a period of time, say 3 to 5 years, we will arrive there with sustainable levels of quality and service quality as well, product and service quality. So this is very important to recognize that failure will be there, but the more important thing is we'll have to have techniques to handle that failure, which leads me to the next point, which is all about saying no to 99 distractions. In the process of understanding our failures, there could be many sideshow issues which come up, substitutes, parallel products, so on and so forth. But it has to be the onus of entrepreneurship in this country to stay put in one course. Of course, they can have checks and balances. Every 3 months or 6 months, a review can be done so that we ensure that we are on course. But nonetheless, we should not digress. This is the problem of most exporters in this country. When they face failure for, say, a year or two, they start getting into excuses and then whittling down their whole ideation from what it was to something else, and as a natural consequence, they don't become successes. This is very important, which leads me to the fifth point, which is all about compassionate capitalism. To be export-driven, you require an organization which is vibrant, which is highly motivated, and which is an outperformer. And the only way in which you can do that in the WTO era is by the tenets of compassionate capitalism. As long as we ensure that the returns which are generated are shared by the entrepreneur with the prime stakeholders, the employees, the local communities, the vendors, so on and so forth, we will certainly be an outperformer because the motivation levels will be very, very high. This does not happen in this country. As our track record shows from 47, crony capitalism and crony socialism have been at play, and as a consequence of that, we are completely entrenched in the throes of inequality. So practicing compassionate capitalism bridges the inequality divide as it provides fundamentally for inclusive growth. Inclusive growth ensures that not only does the entrepreneur grow, his entire team grows, the local communities grow, and the district grows, and so on and so forth. Finally, the nation grows. This is the way forward, which then leads me to the next point, which is all about leading by example. Whether it's governance per se, or managing a company, or a small, medium-scale enterprise, the enterprise will never be an outperformer unless the leader, the CEO, the managing director, or the chairman leads by example. Let me give you an exemplar right out of India. Yogesh Deveshwar, chairman of ITC, is a living exemplar of leadership by example. How did he do it? When he took over ITC, it had a market capitalization of 5,000 crores. Today it's well past 2 lakh crores. In every speech of his, in all internal deliberations, he ensured that compassionate capitalism is the catchphrase on which ITC will operate. This has led to inclusive growth, a very happy community, highly motivated employees, and results are there for all to see: inclusive growth, is best personified in India by the E-Chopal initiative of ITC in the state of Andhra Pradesh, something which has to be replicated across the country. Which then leads me to the final point, which is no organization or country can ever be an outperformer unless and until continuous learning is the mantra. Continuous learning is something which is indispensable in the world of exports because trends, fashion, so on and so forth change, and in the process, the entire organization should be made sensitive to these changes, and one will have to one up in the game to ensure that their product and service quality is always at global standards. So these are the 7-dimensional perspectives at the micro level which we'll have to follow. The first part of the elocution was about the macro initiatives which the government will have to initiate get into expansive growth by making manufacturing in India vibrant. That is the mantra for the government. And at the micro level, the 7-dimensional perspective will sensitize entrepreneurs across the country of India to be outperformers. I hope you enjoyed my elocution. It contains seminal messages from all of us. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.